friends. Welcome to Race to Rise podcast, a place where we discuss bite sized wisdom nuggets with easy to follow practices to live a better life. I am your host, Mital Patel, a parenting junkie, Ayurveda enthusiast, and an advocate of conscious living. Friends, it's time to move the needle in the right direction and make some changes in your life so we can thrive. It's about the time where we overcome what's holding us back and live the life we dream of. So, what are you waiting for? Let's start. So last week we discussed 5 of my bad habits that I really think are zapping my productivity and focus. And we also saw the stats. According to research, 80% of human beings do have those bad habits. And so, of course, we don't want to be in that 80% anymore, and we want to do something. So let's look at some of the habits that can help us move towards our goal and help us develop a greater mental strength to tackle our day-to-day goals. And these habits are not just about the superficial level. It's all about going deep. It's about developing our mental resilience so we can achieve, a lasting impact on our life. So let's get started and let's look into the first habit. So the first habit is replacing self-pity with gratitude. I know it's easy to say than practice, but trust me, personally, recently I was, as you all know, I got COVID. And that was one of the things that taught me that how important it is for us to respond consciously instead of reacting in self-pity or reacting with bitterness. It's so important to turn into the gratitude because these are the adverse situations that can show us our true power, that we are unstoppable, like we mentioned. And actually, you all by now know that as a scientist, I really believe in stuff that is already researched and, that backs up by science somehow. And so research actually also shows that developing our capacity for gratitude can make us stronger on many levels. And to begin with, increased gratitude can improve our physical health. And according to a study published in 2003 in the journal, I think it was Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, for example, that it found that people who are grateful have healthier immune system. They suffer less often from the aches and the pains. And what's more, that they also exercise more frequently. They sleep better, they enjoy a better general standard of health than their less grateful peers. So clearly, gratitude is very important. So now let's turn to another habit. So habit number 2 is it's about holding on to our power and forgiving others. Yes, this is by far the hardest habit that one can practice. But again, I won't share something that I haven't practiced myself. So I don't normally openly share so much about my husband's journey, but my husband suffered from depression. And before even we found out that he was suffering from depression, he was on an, substance abuse route. I've had an abusive marriage. In terms of physical, in terms of, verbally and stuff, emotionally, it was such an abusive relationship. I stuck with him, not like I got stuck with him, but I wanted to stick with him because I just didn't want to leave him in the situation where he was. And so anyways, that one relationship taught me how important it is to forgive someone. And so when I invested in my coaching back in 2018, that's when I learned the power of forgiveness, how I can own, and how I can hold on to my power, because forgiveness is actually not an easy job. It's not for someone, who is looking for an easy route. It's a very tough, it's a tough in terms of, because it's hard. It's so hard to forgive someone. But Waiting to forgive others until they say they're sorry actually gives them the control. And it's not just about the control over that one relationship. It actually controls our dreams. It controls our day-to-day life. It just makes it everything miserable. So again, I really want to define forgiveness here that I learned from my coach. Forgive word itself, if you break it down, it's about forgive. So it's about when you ask forgiveness or when you forgive someone, it's about like, thank you for giving me this pain because this pain taught me something, right? XYZ, whatever it could be for you. This pain is what made me strong. And so, yes, if you want to hold on to your power and if you want to own your power, then my friend, you have to let go and forgive others who has done wrong to you. And just, I'm not saying that you need to forget about it. Not saying that. Just learn what you were supposed to learn from that circumstances and just let that pain go. Let everything lose out and just don't hold on to it because that controls your power. Our habit number 3 is about embracing the change. That is by far the most, again, this is also hard. So like, for example, recently we just moved. We lived in an independent home. I've had a great big house, 4 bedrooms, like a nice furnished basement, a huge, kitchen, big backyard. We've had a great space, and all of a sudden, just because we want to achieve our dreams, we decided that we really need to sacrifice the temporary lifestyle, the way we're living, the temporary luxuries, so we can create the long-term lifestyle. And so that change it's just hard when you are a parent, when you have, 2 young kids who are so used to with their school environment, and all of a sudden you are giving them this change. But it's also about empowering your children and yourself that we must embrace the change, because there is a silver lining in embracing the change, because it gives you, it teaches us that it's okay. I can do this. And, and again, if you're not okay, it is also okay not to be okay, right? It's all about embracing the present. And what we have learned that it's about being mindful and it's about being conscious when you're embracing the change, because when you are going outside of your comfort zone, your mind is gonna go reckless. Your monkey mind is going to just get so happy and give you all these nasty thoughts that you just don't want to think about. So it's all about being more mindful about your feelings around the change and noticing and, like literally measuring the progress. And you can use, there's so many tools nowadays out on the internet that you can, or, you can hire a coach for yourself. You can work with someone, get a therapist if it's really hard. But again, this is going to prepare you, to help you move towards your big goals. So let's move on to our next habit. Habit number 4, it is about not to get distracted by things that you can't control. Again, it's about not getting distracted by things that you don't have control over. What do I mean by that? Let's look at this. If you've ever been caught in bad traffic on your way to an important appointment, you probably know how frustrating it can be. I mean, we all must have experienced this at some point, or we all must have heard about this example, or this scenario before. What we get into, we get into the cursing in the car, or we get to, we just get, the frustration just comes out one way or the other way. Although it can feel good in that actual moment, the thing to remember is that it's total waste. It's not just waste of our time, but it's also waste of our precious energy. And it loses, we literally lose out our sanity in getting frustrated and showcasing our frustration in terms of cursing or honking or things like that. There's just no point, right? We're not gaining anything. It's not serving us. So then what do we do? Like, okay, now instead of getting distracted and using our precious energy towards like cursing or getting frustrated, why don't we just look at the things that we have control over? Okay, what can I do? So in this traffic scenario, we might just, okay, let me just text my boss that I might be late. I'm stuck in the traffic, because you just can't do anything at that point. There's no way you're going to fly your car, right? I mean, this is the joke that we say in the car with my kids. Anyways, back to the topic. So what is in your control? Your control is, okay, let me turn on to the radio, or let me turn into that podcast that I really wanted to listen to, or let me turn into that audiobook that I was dying to listen to. Or if why not, mine as well, I'm stuck in the traffic, just play something in the background, like turn into your favorite music library. There are so many ways. Ask Siri to tell you, read your story. By the way, did you know that we do that all the time? If we're bored and if my child is fussing, and our last option is about empowering him to give a choice, we say, hey Siri, can you tell us a story? And Siri actually does read your stories. Or you ask, hey Siri, tell me your dad joke, and Siri will tell you a dad joke. So it's just, the point is like, look into what you can control instead of getting distracted by what you can't control. Next habit number 5 is not repeating the same mistakes. And this actually requires self-discipline. Yes, they say in life you will keep getting the same lesson again and again, or you will attract same situations in life again and again until you learn from the mistake. And I believe that's why all these successful leaders write books, and they share their autobiography, and they share their mistakes, because they themselves do this. They literally they study and learn from their mistakes so they don't repeat them in the future. And that's why they share their mistakes so openly, so we can learn. And that's what I am trying to do. I am trying to share my mistakes so we can all learn together and we can all thrive better. And again, if you want to see different results, then you can't repeat the same, mistakes and again. It's just not possible to get a different result by doing the same thing over and over. So it's about time that we learn some self-discipline and we practice self-discipline. So few of the things that has helped me to be more disciplined is keeping my eyes on the goal and the intention, right? It's about the vision. What is your vision? What do you really want? It's about knowing, right? Again, self-awareness, self-reflection, it requires so much. So it is, it's about, if you really want to create, for example, for me, if I really want to create the lifestyle, long-term lifestyle, then I'm going to have to drop down on, watching my Netflix shows, and I'm going to have to buckle up and do some reading or do some writing, or whatever, like record this podcast. So again, keeping your eyes on the goals, your why you want to do that. So that's next. Second, you have to make list of the reasons why you want to do it, so you don't repeat the mistakes. Why don't you want to repeat these mistakes that you've made in the past? So again, make that list. Why do you want to do things differently? So that comes to the why. And then number 3 is being more conscious and intentional, and keeping an eye out on your mistakes. So let's say, for example, your goal is to save money so you can buy your dream home, right? But if you always end up spending money on things that are just not necessary, or buying a new furniture right now, when you can save that money and just get that when you actually buy your dream home. So it's about saving at that point. So look at your habits, self-examine, see where you need to spend less or spend more, see what you can earn. It doesn't have to be money. So it could be also about the time, where you're spending the time, where you're spending your energy, while you could be working on that dream project, instead of spending time watching Netflix or surfing through YouTube or surfing through social media. So Again, self-discipline requires lots of inner work, and it requires us to go against our monkey mind, like how Jay Shetty, my coach, would say. And the last habit number 6, I really want to focus is on don't give up so easily. Just don't give up easily, and have some self-compassion for yourself and for the failures. We actually do have a tendency to think that success is overnight. It's like a fairy tale. It's just gonna show up like you have this magic wand and you just wave, and it's the reality now. But in actual real world, things are rarely like that. You have to put in the work. So the overnight success that we see on the internet nowadays, it's actually not overnight. That leader must have worked 10, 20 years in terms of creating that successful product that he or she is sharing with the world right now. All the hardship that they have done, all the movie nights they had to sacrifice with their friends, all their Netflix shows that they had to give up on. It looks that this is all overnight success, but it is actually not. So it's so important for us to remind ourselves, but at the same time, we don't have to give up. We don't need to give up. It's not about, failures are part of life. They all have failed at one point or the another. And our leaders of today, they are clearly sharing that. I am blessed enough to following the leaders that I really want to be like, the role models in my life. They all share their hardships and they all are sharing the failures. It's so important to know about the failures. Like, for example, in the movie, watch the Think and Grow Rich, right? Thomas Edison. You just cannot have a better example of for this than Thomas Edison. He was one of the greatest inventors in history, perhaps most famous for inventing the light bulb and the discovery that completely changed our entire world. But just imagine for a second that if he didn't go for that discovery and if he had given up the very first trial, well, we wouldn't have the light bulbs, right? And even if we had it, we would have had it at a later stage or whatnot. The point I'm trying to say is like, we don't just don't give up, because failures are part of our life. And even better, like, instead of taking failures as, that, okay, this is it, like giving up, take them as a learning opportunities. Take them as like as a scientist, we believe that fail, and we all have heard like fail like a scientist. It's all about experimenting. It's all about, trying and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So each time we fail, we really need to consider ourselves to be one step closer to succeeding, as Thomas Edison actually taught us. And so, yeah, it's so important that we learn to be self-compassionate about our failures and mistakes and show some grace for ourselves. So, I really want to share my personal story on this, that back in 2006, when I was trying to come to United States for higher education for my undergraduate studies, we had to do this exams called TOEFL, which is all about, if English is your second language, you have to give this exam in English. And I studied in Gujarati medium, so I had no English, like literally I couldn't speak, I couldn't write, I could read very slowly, but, not as fluent as I could read now. But back then I couldn't even read. So the point is, like, when the first time I tried to give the exam, I failed badly, and I had such a crush deadline to submit my scores to the universities here in the States. So I was so crushed down and I was so crying. I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then my dad said, okay, well, let's take another date for the exam. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And I just went for this, and believe it or not, I came like really close for the second time, but I passed my test, and I'm here today. If I, just give up that day and not taken my exam again, I don't know where would I have been now. Things would have been so different. So it's just about, just go for the second time. Like, if you have to. It's not about that if failed the first time, it's not necessarily that you're gonna fail a second time. It's just about trying. For example, my first business was just bummer. I had a major dip down. Like, I lost a huge financial investment, but I'm still trying. Like, I'm still building my second business. It's not, so it's just, these failures actually teaches us like what not to do the next time. So just to review today's the habit list is, if we really want to go towards our big goals, and if you really want to thrive and achieve that vision, then we're going to have to look into these habits for success. And we're going to have to, it's not about achieving the superficially, looking habits, but it's about increasing the resilience. It's about increasing the mental strength and get more out of life that we deserve. So again, to recap, it's about refraining from feeling sorry for ourselves. It's about never giving up on our power away to others. It's about embracing the change. It's about avoiding, the things that we can't control and focusing on the things that we can control. It's about making sure to never, repeat the mistakes and learning and taking that as a learning opportunity and showing some grace and compassion for ourselves. And also not, giving up on our initial failures, and just, learn from it, show some compassion, give grace to yourselves, and move on. And so now we all know that we're about, the little wisdom nuggets and how can we easily practice these habits. So it's not just about listening to me right now, but it's also about doing something about it. It's about taking, owning your mental strength and owning your power. So few things that I want to share on how to implement these practices. So like, first of all, is monitoring how you're behaving. So are you shying away from your changes? Are you repeating the same mistakes? If so, you really need to look into it, come up with strategies, how to change these things. And then paying close attention to your feelings. Like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Are you focusing on, or are you holding onto the people or the situations that did wrong to you? So you really need to examine these thoughts. Are you threatening over things that you can't control? So are your expectations are unrealistic? And so you really need to try and replace them with the thoughts that can serve you better. That's it for this week's episode of Race to Rise. Be sure to sign up to our email list at risewithmittal.com. And join us again next time for more wisdom about life, kids, and everything in between. I am Mittal Patel, wishing you happy raising and rising.